Let's begin this hour with updates from the war. The U.S. says Russia is planning to annex more Ukrainian territory using a similar playbook to its takeover of Crimea. Citing U.S. intelligence, National Security Council spokesman Kirby accuses Russia of already laying the groundwork for annexation. Meanwhile, early on Tuesday, Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi and his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin held agreeing to further strengthen bilateral relations. There is more in this.
Following Mr. Putin's arrival in Tehran on Tuesday afternoon for the participation in the trilateral meeting with Mr. Raisi and Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan on the issue of Syria later in the day. That's according to reports by the Iranian presidency's website. The visit is a chance to deepen ties with Iran, one of Russia's few remaining international allies. It follows allegations by U.S. officials last week that Tehran was planning to supply Russia with hundreds of drones for its war in Ukraine. And following the meeting with Mr. Raisi, Mr. Putin said relations between Iran and Russia were developing at a good pace. He said the two countries are strengthening ties in areas such as international security, trade, and the settlement of the Syria crisis. On his part, President Raisi said collaborations with Russia will prepare ground for improving regional security and stability and combating terrorism. Elsewhere, White House Press Secretary spoke with newsmen on Tuesday, and she was joined by the National Security Council Coordinator for Strategic Communications, John Kirby. And during the briefing, Mr. Kirby discussed the war in Ukraine in detail, saying Russia is laying the groundwork to annex additional Ukrainian territory. He said the move was part of Russia's annexation playbook from back in 2014, when it said it had the power to annex Crimea.
Russia is attempting to set the conditions on the ground by seeking to establish branches of Russian banks, to establish the ruble as the default currency in these areas, and to sabotage civilian internet access. Russia's security services continue to target Ukrainians that they believe to be associated with resistance activities. In Kherson, for example, Russia is taking control of broadcasting towers, establishing loyalist security forces, replacing telecommunications infrastructure, forcing residents to apply for Russian citizenship, and issuing Russian passports. Russia is also installing loyalists in areas of Ukraine that it controls, including a man named Sergei Yeliseyev, a former Russian intelligence officer who has been put in charge of Kherson. Figures like Yeliseyev are Russian bureaucrats with absolutely no connection to Ukraine.
Annexed Crimea from Ukraine in 2014 after a referendum which was widely viewed as legitimate. Mr. Kirby also accused Russia of installing legitimate pro-Russian officials to run occupied regions of Ukraine with the aim of organizing referenda on becoming part of Russia.
Meanwhile, President Vladimir Putin says the flow of Russian natural gas to European customers has dwindled due to the West's own faults and warns that it could continue subsiding. The Russian leader further cranked up pressure on the European Union, which fears Russia could cut up gas to wreak economic and political havoc in Europe in the winter. Speaking in Tehran, Mr. Putin said the amount of gas pumped through the Nord Stream pipeline of Germany will fall from 60 million to about 30 million cubic meters a day. About one-fifth of its capacity, the turbine is not quickly replaced. We're staying with the war-related stories. Lithuania Parliament has given final approval to Sweden and Finland's NATO accession protocols on Wednesday. Sweden's accession to the alliance was ratified with 112 votes in favor and 1 against. Members of Parliament voted unanimously in favor of Finland's NATO membership. According to the minister, the accession of Finland and Sweden to NATO is important for Lithuania, both in terms of deterrence and defense. Finland and Sweden, which have been NATO partners since 1994, formally applied to join NATO on May the 18th this year in response to the changed security situation following Russia's ongoing war against Ukraine. Both countries were formally invited to join the alliance at the NATO summit in Madrid in June. The accession protocols will enter into force after the ratification by the Parliament of all NATO member countries.